What if everything you can see, every star, every galaxy, even you, is actually the projection of information stored on a distant cosmic boundary? It sounds like science fiction, but some of the world's leading physicists think this incredible idea might be true. It is called the holographic principle. The idea began with black holes, where physicists discovered that all the information inside a black hole may actually be encoded on its two-dimensional surface. Then came an even stranger possibility. What if the entire universe works the same way? If that is true, our three-dimensional reality would not be fundamental. Space, depth, and perhaps even gravity could emerge from information written on a two-dimensional boundary of the cosmos. Much like a hologram creates a three-dimensional image from a flat surface, this does not mean the universe is fake. It means reality could be far stranger than we ever imagined. Everything you experience would still be real, but its deepest description might exist in fewer dimensions than you can perceive. And if the universe really is a cosmic hologram, one question changes everything. Where is the screen that is projecting our reality? Hold that question. Do not answer it yet. Feel how uncomfortable it is. You can touch a table. You can walk through a room. Depth feels like the most obvious fact in existence, and yet a serious line of modern physics asks whether depth is what the universe is made of, or what the universe looks like from the inside of a deeper bookkeeping written on a boundary. The story does not start with the whole cosmos. It starts with the darkest objects we know. Black holes forced physicists to count something they did not expect to count that way. Not stars, not atoms in a volume, degrees of freedom on a surface. Once that counting became hard to ignore, the hologram metaphor stopped being poetry and started looking like a clue. Imagine a black hole as a vault. Classically, from far away, it seems to remember almost nothing about what it at, often summarized as mass, charge, and spin. Then thermodynamics entered the room. Jacob Bekenstein argued that black holes should carry entropy. Stephen Hawking's work helped cement a shocking detail, that entropy scales with the area of the event horizon, not with the volume inside. Area, two-dimensional measure for a three-dimensional prison. Why is that weird? Because ordinary intuition says a bigger room holds more stuff. Entropy, in one useful reading, tracks how many microscopic arrangements can look the same from outside. In ordinary systems, more volume usually means more possible arrangement. Black holes refuse that volume counting. The ledger seems to live on the skin. The surface area sets the budget for how much information the hole can hide. That budget is not a trivia fact for specialists. It is a warning about how gravity and information talk to each other. If the most extreme gravitating objects store their informational capacity on a boundary, maybe quantum gravity itself is not a theory of tiny cubes filling space. Maybe it is a theory whose true degrees of freedom live on screen. Black holes would then be the first place the universe showed us the accounting trick. Picture libraries falling into a hole, different books, different texts, different microscopic detail. From outside, classical no-hair stories make the final quiet hole look brutally simple. Thermodynamics and quantum gravity arguments push back. The horizon area grows when the hole eats, and that growth tracks an entropy increase. Somehow the surface is keeping a score that volume-based common sense expected to keep in the interior. Correspondence on a surface is the seed of holography. Gerard Tooft, in the early 1990s, pushed the seed into a principle. Leonard Susskind helped turn it into a vivid claim about the world. The holographic principle says, roughly, that a region of space can be described by information on its boundary, as if the bulk contents were encoded on a lower dimensional screen. Suskind's language made the shock public. The three-dimensional world of ordinary experience might be a hologram of data on a distant two-dimensional surface. Listen carefully to what that does not say. It does not say your life is a cartoon. It does not say pain is imaginary. It does not say the table is a lie. It says the most compact description of what is happening in a volume may live on a surface around that volume. The way a hologram plate can encode a three-dimensional scene without the scene being fake to the viewer. Experience can be real while ontology gets stranger. That distinction matters because viral science loves the word fake. Fake is clickbait. Holographic is subtler and more dangerous to intuition. Hologram image is still an image you can study. Holographic universe claim is that gravity and depth might be how a boundary theory presents itself to observers living in what they call the bulk. Real experience, different, deepest description. That is the line the opening already drew. Keep it. Now escalate from black holes to the whole sky. If a black hole's interior information can be thought of as living on its horizon, what about any region of space? What about the observable universe? Could there be a cosmic boundary whose data encode everything inside? Stars, galaxies, you. The way a horizon encodes a whole, that leap is where science fiction flavor returns. It is also where careful physicists start drawing maps of what is proven, what is modeled, and what is still a dream. The most precise map we have is not our exact cosmos. It is a controlled theoretical laboratory called anti-de Sitter space, paired with a conformal field theory on its boundary. ADS, CFT, associated with Juan Maldacena in the late 1990s. In that setting, a gravitational world in a bulk with a certain kind of curved boundary conditions can be exactly dual to a quantum field theory living on the boundary without gravity in the same sense. Two languages, one encyclopedia of facts. Dual means you can, in principle, translate questions about black holes and gravity in the bulk into questions about quantum fields on the screen and get matching answers. The boundary theory has enough degrees of freedom to describe the bulk, including black holes, in a way that rhymes with the area law intuition. That is why ADS-CFT became the sharpest realization of holography people can actually calculate with. It is not a vibes poster. It is a dictionary, but dictionaries have domain. ADS is not a perfect model of the universe you live in. Our cosmos, on large scales, looks more like it is accelerating outward in a way closer to de Sitter-like behavior than to the anti-de Sitter box theorists' love for control. So honesty requires a cold sentence. The cleanest holographic duality we know is a masterpiece of theoretical physics. It is not yet a finished photograph of our universe. The principle may still be deep and general. The copy of the universe may still be incomplete. Raphael Bousso and others sharpened how holographic bounds should be stated so they survive in dynamical spacetimes, using light sheets and covariant ideas rather than naive volume boxes. The details are technical. The spirit is not. If you carelessly say any region's entropy cannot exceed its boundary area, cosmology can hand you counterexamples and traps. Careful holography is a discipline, not a slogan you spray on every galaxy photo. Still, the slogan survives for a reason. Area laws keep appearing where gravity and quantum information meet. Black hole entropy, entanglement calculations that sometimes look geometric, bulk reconstruction ideas that try to read interior operators from boundary data. Again and again, the surface seems to know too much about the volume. That pattern is why leading physicists take the incredible idea seriously even when the cosmic screen remains unlocated. Here is the screen. That is the question that changes everything. And it is also the question that refuses a clean tourist answer. Candidates appear in conversation, cosmological horizons, boundaries at infinity in certain idealized spacetimes, holographic screens constructed from light sheets in general geometries. Our candidate has problems when forced onto the real accelerating universe. The opening asked where the projector is. The adult answer begins with, "We do not know," and then explains why not knowing is not the same as the idea being empty. Not knowing the screen's address does not erase the black hole lesson. Black holes still teach area counting. ADS-CFT still teaches that holography can be exact in a controlled world. Those two pillars are why the principle has gravity in the research community. The leap to our whole cosmos is the third pillar. Exciting, unfinished, and honest only when labeled unfinished. Return to you in the room. If the deepest description of your neighborhood lived on a boundary, what would change about waking up tomorrow? Probably nothing about breakfast, everything about what you think space is. Space would look less like a stage that exists first and more like a useful appearance generated by relationships among more fundamental degrees of freedom. Depth would be what those relationships feel like from inside. Gravity might be the thermodynamics or the elasticity of that appearance. Those sentences are speculative readings of holography. Mark them as such, then feel why people chase them. Emergent gravity talk is one of those readings. Some researchers explore whether gravity is less a fundamental force painted onto spacetime and more an emergent phenomenon from information and entropy relations. Holography sits nearby because it already suggests space-time geometry and information bounds are married. Married ideas invite unification dream. Unification dreams invite overclaim. Keep the marriage, watch the dreams. Another reading asks about the information paradox you may already know from this series. If black hole information can be thought of as living on or recoverable through horizon and radiation bookkeeping, holography is one of the languages people use to say the interior is not an informational orphan. This video will not rebuild the whole paradox. It only needs the bridge. Surface encoding is how black holes whispered holography into existence. Paradox pressure made people listen harder. Listen harder to the word encoded. Encoding does not always mean a little QR code glued on a horizon like a sticker. In the sharp ad's CFT sense, it means an equivalence of descriptions, a duality. In the broader principle sense, it means a bound and a conjecture about where the degrees of freedom live. Mixing sticker intuition with duality intuition creates mush. Mush is how audiences leave thinking physicists said the universe is a video game. They did not. They said something stranger and more precise. Descriptions can live on boundaries. Precision also demands you hear what volume counting gets wrong. Local quantum field theory, naively applied, suggests too many degrees of freedom in a region, enough to threaten black hole entropy bounds. Holography is partly a statement that naive volume counting overcounts when gravity is dynamical. Gravity does not let you pack arbitrary information into a region without eventually making a black hole whose area budget caps the account cap on a surface. Again, the scream. Feel the scale. Take a sphere of ordinary space in your mind. Ask how much information can fit inside before gravity makes a black hole. How many treat? The answer tracks the surface, not the cubic gut feeling. That is an absurd constraint compared with how we store files on Earth, where volume of chips still rules engineering. At planetary densities, we never notice the holographic budget, near Planckian extremes, and black hole thresholds. The budget becomes the whole story. Extreme physics revealed the accounting. Extreme accounting may be the rule everywhere, usually hidden. Hidden rules are perfect for awe and terrible for overconfidence. The holographic principle might be a cornerstone of quantum gravity. It might be a powerful tool inside string theory and gauge gravity dualities, without being a finished ontology of our particular cosmos. Both statements can be true at once. Science lives in that tension. Viral narration dies when it erases the tension for a cleaner myth. So keep the myth killer sentences closed. Our universe is not known to be a simple @s box with a convenient CFT wallpaper. The screen has not been found like a planet in a telescope. Many holographic results are in highly symmetric models. Extrapolation is research, not textbook weather. And still, black hole area laws are not going away, and odds as CFT is not a rumor. The incredible idea has receipts. Incomplete receipts, real receipts. Now, walk the hologram metaphor carefully, so it helps instead of lies. Laboratory hologram stores interference information on a plate. Shine light right, and a three-dimensional image appears. The plate is flat. The appearance has depth. Nobody serious thinks the depth is fake to the photons doing the work of reconstruction. In the cosmic analogy, you are more like an observer inside the reconstructed appearance. Your instruments measure depth because depth is how the bulk description works. The boundary description is another book of the same fact. 2 books, 1 story. That is duality-flavored holography. What if there is only one book, and it is the boundary? Then bulk depth is how that book feels when read from the inside. That stronger reading is closer to some popular Susskind-style phrasing. It is also easier to turn into clickbait about fake worlds. Hold the stronger reading as a possibility inside quantum gravity research, not as a settled announcement about your breakfast table. Here would a cosmic plate even be if you mean the edge of the observable universe. You must confront horizons that depend on observers and cosmology that evolve. If you mean a boundary at infinity in an idealized spacetime, you must admit infinity is a tool, not a wall you can visit. If you mean a holographic screen constructed abstractly from light sheets, you must accept that screen may not look like a movie theater surface floating out there. The projector metaphor in the opening is emotionally perfect and literally tricky. Emotion gets you in the door. Literal carefulness keeps you from getting lost. Lost is what happens when people stack every mystery onto holography, simulation hypotheses, consciousness puzzle, random multiverse tourism. This spine refuses that stack. One idea, information capacity and description can live on boundaries. Black holes taught it. Dualities sharpened it. Cosmology still argues about how to apply it. Here is the screen remains the unresolved knife, earned by the mechanism, not glued on as a random hook. Unresolved does not mean empty. It means the next generation of theories and observations, or the next generation of better questions, has work to do. Maybe a future quantum gravity will locate the degrees of freedom of our cosmos on a specific kind of screen. Maybe it will replace holography with something that explains why holography worked as an approximation. Either way, you will never look at a black hole horizon the same way, because you will see a possible hard drive made of geometry. Hard drive made of geometry is a metaphor. Treat it as a metaphor. The non-metaphor is the area law and the duality dictionary. Metaphors are allowed when they carry you to the non-metaphor without replacing it. The opening used hologram because humans already know flat plates can hold depth. See that gift. Then return to physics words: entropy, boundary, bulk, duality. Bow. Return also to the bodily feeling of depth. Walk across a room. Depth is not a rumor. Holography does not ask you to stop walking. It asks whether the deepest inventory of what happened during the walk is a volume inventory or a boundary inventory. Inventory is the quiet word under the fire word. Physics advances by changing what gets inventoried and where. Inventory on a boundary changes how you think about packing. It changes how you think about black hole interiors. It changes how you think about what spacetime is allowed to be in a quantum theory. It may change how you think about the whole cosmos if the leap holds. That may is doing honest work. The opening said leading physicists think the idea might be true. Might is not weakness. Might is the correct strength for a frontier. Frontier stories need villains that are actually constrained. Here the villains are overcounting in bulk field theory, inconsistency with black hole entropy if you ignore area laws, and cosmological mismatch if you paste adds SCFT onto the sky without care. Defeat those villains piece by piece and holography looks motivated. Ignore them and holography looks like mysticism with equation. Motivation is what this walk is for. Motivated enough to ask again, where is the screen that is projecting our reality? If projection language bothers you, translate. Here do the fundamental degrees of freedom live, if not at every point in the volume. That translation keeps the question scientific. Projection is the viral coat. Degrees of freedom on a boundary is the skeleton. Skeleton first whenever someone tries to turn this into a glitch in the matrix speech. Glitch speeches erase the line the opening protected. This does not mean the universe is fake. Experience remains real. Strangeness lives in the description. If you only remember one moral from the night, remember that. Real table. Possibly holographic bookkeeping, both. Now deepen the black hole classroom without rebuilding the entire information paradox episode. When a hole forms and grows, horizon area increases. Entropy assigned to the hole increases with that area. If entropy counts hidden information, the horizon is where the count is written. Attempts to understand microscopic details of that count, in string theory and elsewhere, often find that boundary degrees of freedom do the counting. Counting on the wall. Interior, as what the wall's data can mean. That rhyme is holography humming. Humming becomes music in add SCFT when bulk black holes map to thermal states of the boundary theory and entropies match at leading order. Matching is a receipt. Receipts are why people trust the dictionary enough to compute crazy bulk questions using boundary tools. Trust in a model is not trust. that the night sky is the same model. Keep both sentences in your mouth at once. At once is hard. Brains like one story. Holography offers two stories that are one fact. Bulk gravity story. Boundary quantum story. Living inside the bulk story. You say space and gravity. Reading the boundary story. You say fields and entanglement patterns that can reconstruct geometric notions. The reconstruction research program tries to make that reading explicit. It is active. It is incomplete. It is the opposite of a finished religion. Religion would say, the universe is a hologram. End of discussion. Here is the screen. Buy the poster. Research says, here are dualities. Here are bounds. Here are black hole lessons. Here are cosmological obstacles. Here is an open address for the screen. Research is less soothing. Research is why the opening can be bold without being a con. Bold, claim again. Earn everything you can see. Might be the way information on a distant cosmic boundary presents itself. Stars, galaxies, you, not fake, possibly not fundamental as a volume-first ontology. The deepest description might live in fewer dimensions than you perceive, and the screen's location is the question that keeps the door open. After the mechanism is taught, if the screen is somehow associated with a cosmological horizon, different observers might naturally define different screens. That observer dependence is a feature of horizons and a headache for anyone who wants one shared movie theater wall for the whole cosmos. Headaches like that are productive. They force sharper definitions of what holographic encoding means in an evolving universe. If the screen is at infinity, you are using a boundary condition of a spacetime model rather than a physical billboard. Infinity can still be the right mathematical home for degrees of freedom. It will not look like a glowing rectangle behind the stars. Popular language about projectors will need translation into asymptotic boundaries and data on celestial spheres or conformal boundaries. Translation is adult popular science. Adult popular science also admits that some holographic ideas may fail for our cosmos and still remain immortal as tools. Add SCFT could stay a jewel of theory, while cosmology finds another organizing principle. Or holography could be so general that every quantum gravity ends up boundary-coded. We do not know which. Not knowing is allowed. Pretending we know is not. Stand outside a black hole one more time in your mind. Research vessel, quiet instruments, dark core. The horizon is a surface. Area is a number. Entropy tracks it. Somewhere in that pairing is the first whisper that volume is the wrong warehouse for the ultimate inventory. Now, zoom out until the vessel is a speck in a galaxy in a cosmic web. Ask whether the same whisper applies to the whole. That zoom is the holographic principle's ambition. Ambition plus black hole, evidence plus duality laboratories, equals the serious attention the idea gets. Serious attention from leading physicists is part of the opening for a reason. This is not a random blog rumor. It is a research program with decades of work, names you can look up, papers you can argue with, and calculations you can attempt if you train. Argument is a feature. When an idea invites argument at that level, it has left the nursery of pure speculation. Its speculation still coats the cosmic leap. Separate the coats. Coat 1. Black hole area entropy. Strongly motivated. Coat 2. Holographic principle as a general conjecture about quantum gravity. Seriously pursued. Coat 3. Adds CFT as an exact realization in a special setting. Enormously successful inside its domain. Coat 4. Our universe is a hologram with a findable screen. Open. Exciting. Unfinished. Wear the coats separately and you will not freeze into a myth or melt into cynicism. Cynicism says if the screen is not in a telescope photo, the idea is worthless. That cynicism misunderstands theoretical physics. Electrons were not camera celebrities on day one. Spacetime curvature was not a tourist postcard before light bending and clocks. Holography may be early in its observational biography while already late in its theoretical one. Early and late at once is normal on frontiers. Frontiers ask you to live with dual feeling with that depth might not be fundamental. discipline that breakfast remains real, hunger to know where the screen is, patience that the address is not in tonight's pocket. Those four feelings are the emotional palette of this topic. The opening painted them in a minute. The long form only refused to smudge them. Smudging would be promising the screen's GPS coordinate. Smudging would be saying fake. Smudging would be ignoring ADAS versus our cosmos. Smudging would be forgetting Wittgenstein and area. This walk refused those smudges. What remains is a clean, incredible idea. Boundary inventories may be the true ones, and black holes were the teachers. Teachers leave homework. Homework 1. Next time you see a black hole image, see a surface that might be an information budget, not only a dark circle. Homework 2. Next time someone says the universe is a hologram, ask which coat they are wearing. Black hole lesson, duality dictionary, or cosmic claim. Homework 3. Keep asking where the screen is without accepting a counterfeit answer. Before those homework lines harden into a closer, stay longer in the rooms that still need light. Start again at the area law with a slower body. Take a sphere drawn around a star cluster in your mind. Ask how much disorder can live inside. Ordinary statistical thinking points at the volume. More cubic kilometers. More ways to arrange matter and radiation. Now shrink and compress until gravity answers. Past a threshold, a black hole forms, and the entropy assigned to that object tracks the horizon area. The cubic gut feeling gets fired. The surface gets hired. Hired for what job? Exactly. For bounding. How many independent microscopic distinctions the gravitating system can carry. If you try to pack more, you do not get a denser ordinary object. Forever, you get a bigger hole, which means a bigger area, which raises the budget, still as area, still as a surface law. Gravity enforces a ceiling that looks two-dimensional. That enforcement is why holography is not an aesthetic preference. It is a response to a fight between naive field theory counting and black hole thermodynamic. Naive field theory likes to put degrees of freedom at every little cell of space, cut the cells smaller, and the count explode. Near Planckian fineness, the explosion becomes absurd compared with black hole entropy budgets. Something has to be wrong with unlimited bulk over counting. When gravity is on, holography is one way of saying the true count cannot exceed what a boundary can hold. The bulk appearance can still be rich. The independent inventory is poorer than volume. Rhetoric claimed. Poorer inventory sounds like bad news until you notice what it buys. It buys consistency with horizons. It buys a path toward quantum gravity that does not drown in too many states. It buys dualities where a boundary theory without bulk gravity can still know about bulk black holes. Buying consistency is how incredible ideas earn leading physicists' attention. Attention is not proof of the cosmic screen. Attention is proof the seed is not frivolous. Now, take the seed into a laboratory you cannot visit. Anti-de Sitter space. Imagine a universe in a kind of gravitational box with a boundary that behaves nicely for theorists. On that boundary lives a quantum field theory of a special conformal kind. Maldasena's insight linked gravity plus strings in the box to bulk to that boundary theory as equivalent descriptions. Ask a question in one language, translate, read the answer in the other. When the dictionary works, holography stops being a metaphor and becomes an operating system for calculation. Operating systems invite applications. Condensed matter analogs. Heavy iron fireball intuition. Black hole evaporation questions asked in boundary language. Entire careers now live inside the dictionary. That social fact matters for your trust calibration. When thousands of sharp people spend decades on a tool, the tool usually has teeth, even if the sky is not the same as the tool's favorite sandbox. Sandbox mismatch is the next room. Our universe expands and, on large scales, appears to accelerate. Anti-de Sitter geometry is different. A negative cosmological constant style arena, beloved because it has a solid boundary at infinity for the dictionary. De Sitter-like holography has been explored, argued, partially constructed, and remains less complete than @SLCFT. Incomplete is the honest word. Incomplete is also why the screen question stays open, without killing the principle. Open questions need shapes. Shape 1. Perhaps our cosmos has holographic degrees of freedom, associated with cosmological horizons that depend on observers. Shape 2. Perhaps a more abstract holographic screen can be drawn using light sheets through spacetime, even when no theater wall appears. Shape 3. Perhaps holography is true in quantum gravity generally, but the map to cosmology needs ideas we do not have yet. Listing shapes prevents a single fake GPS pin from pretending to be science. Light sheets deserve a plain sentence. Think of a family of light rays leaving a surface and focusing inward. Entropy passing through that sheet can be bounded by the area of the surface in careful formulations associated with Bousseau's covariant ideas. The point for this narration is not the formula. The point is that careful holography follows causal structure, not lazy spheres drawn on tourist maps. Causal structure is how spacetime actually allows information to move. Bounds that respect it survive longer. Survive longer than what? Longer than slogans that say any region's entropy is at most its surface area without reading the fine print. Counterexamples and edge cases exist for careless slogans. Precision is not pedantry here. Precision is how you keep holography from becoming a word you stamp on every mystery until it means nothing. Meaning nothing is the risk of viral overreach. Meaning something sharp is the reward of staying with black holes and dualities long enough before leaping to the cosmos. You have stayed. Now the leap can be taken as a leap. What if the entire universe works the same way black hole surfaces taught us to inventory? Samui means boundary inventory. Samui does not automatically mean we have found the plate. Plate language returns because holograms are the human bridge. In a lab, a plate holds interference data. Reconstruction creates depth for a viewer outside the image. In cosmic holography debates, you are often cast as inside the image. That casting flip is why people get dizzy. Dizziness is appropriate. You are being asked to imagine that your standpoint is bulk, while the compact description might be boundary. Standpoint physics is always dizzy at first. Relativity was, quantum was, holography is. Dizzy does not equal fake. Say it again because the internet will not. Your measurements of lengths, times, spectra, and collisions remain the same empirical facts. Holography reshuffles what those facts are facts about at the deepest layer. Reshuffling ontology while keeping phenomenology is a classic move in fundamental physics. Waves and particles, fields and particles, spacetime and gravity as geometry, boundary and bulk as dual. Pattern recognized. Panic unnecessary. Curiosity required. Curiosity about gravity's status is natural here. If geometry can be reconstructed from entanglement patterns in a boundary theory, then gravity looks less like a separate empire and more like a chapter of quantum information geometry. Some papers push that chapter hard. Others warn against reading too much cosmology into ADS lessons. Your job as a listener is to hear both the push and the warning without needing a PhD to smell which claims are model-bound. Model-bound claims still change your eyes. After ADS SCFT, a bulk black hole is allowed to be thought of as a thermal state of something living on a wall. After Bekenstein and Hawking, a horizon area is allowed to be thought of as an entropy count. After Truft and Susskind, a volume of space is allowed to be thought of as something a surface can encode. Allowed thoughts become research programs. Research programs become the incredible idea the opening named. Named ideas need enemies that are real. Enemy 1. Unlimited bulk overcounting. Enemy 2. Treating holography as proof that life is a simulation video. Enemy 3. Ignoring cosmological differences from ADS. Defeat enemies with area laws, with the not fake line, and with domain honesty. Defeated enemies leave the idea stronger. Stronger idea. Still missing screen. Sit with the missingness. Humans hate missing addresses. Isaacs often hands them out late. The holographic principle may be waiting on a quantum gravity that tells us how our accelerating cosmos stores its degrees of freedom. Until then, the best address you have is a set of analogies, bounds, and dualities, and a black hole horizon that already behaves like a budget sheet. Budget sheet on a horizon brings back the information series thread without reopening that whole war. If information about what fell in is not lost, one family of intuition says the horizon and its quantum dynamics know the story. Holography rhymes with that family because it already wanted the surface to be the library. Heim is not identity. Heim is why the two videos belong in one series. Paradox asks whether details survive. Holography asks whether true inventory lives. Survival and location are neighbors. Neighbors can share a fence called entanglement. Entanglement entropy calculations in field theories sometimes yield geometric areas in dual bulks. Another receipt that information and area like each other. When you hear that, do not imagine entanglement as a mystical glue alone. Imagine bookkeeping correlations that, in special dualities, know how to draw surfaces. Drawing surfaces from correlations is one of the wildest quiet sentences in modern theory. Quiet sentences move revolution. Revolutions need chronology you can feel without becoming a table of dates. Mid-1970s energy. Black holes get thermodynamic identities sharpened, and entropy as area becomes something you cannot laugh away. Early 1990s, Toft and Susskind turned the laugh into a principle about the world. Late 1990s, Maldacena hands the community a dual dictionary precise enough to compute with. 21st century, people push toward cosmology, reconstruction, entanglement geometry, and the screen question you are still holding. Chronology shows the idea earned its decade, and decades still contain wrong turns. Some holographic slogans overreached. Some popular talks melted duality into simulation. Some cosmological proposals died quietly in seminar. Wrong turns are healthy if the core receipts survive. Area laws survived. RSCFT survived as a tool empire. The cosmic screen remains a wanted poster. Wanted posters are exciting. They are not conviction. Convictions without evidence are how claims rot. This war keeps the wanted poster on the wall and refuses to fake an arrest. Here is the screen. Unknown. Is holography empty without an arrest? No. Because black holes and dualities already paid rent. Rent paid is why leading physicists can say the incredible idea might be true without becoming carnival barkers. Carnival barkers love the word hologram because it sounds like illusion. Physicists who use it carefully are borrowing the flat-to-depth miracle, not the stage magic lie. Flat-to-depth is the educational gift. Stage magic lie is the educational poison. You were vaccinated in the opening. Keep the vaccine active. Whenever a thumbnail screams that nothing is real. Nothing is real would also insult the experimental enterprise that made black holes empirical. Shadows, orbits, waves. Those are not holographic fan fiction. They are reasons the area lesson matters more now than when horizons were only chalkboard monsters. Empirical black holes make holographic hints feel closer to nature. Closer is not finished. Closer is fuel. Fuel for what research modes? Mood 1. Computing adds as CFT until the dictionary teaches general lessons about quantum gravity. Mood 2. Hunt covariant bounds that work in messy spacetimes. Mood 3. Ask whether de Sitter space has a useful dual. Mood 4. Ask how much of bulk geometry is entanglement architecture. Mood 5. Ask what holography implies for information during evaporation without replaying the entire paradox video. 5 moods. 1. Spine. Boundary inventories. Boundary inventories change the metaphor of space as a warehouse. Warehouses store boxes in volume. Holographic space is more like a theater whose script lives on the walls, while the play looks three-dimensional to the actors. Actors still cry real tears. Scripts still constrain what scenes are allowed. Ears and constraints together are the emotional and intellectual package that package for a skeptical friend. Friend says depth is obvious. You say obviousness is not fundamentality. Friend says prove the screen. You say black holes prove area budgets. Dualities prove holography can be exact. Cosmology has not delivered the address. Friend says then why care? You say because the warehouse metaphor for information and gravity is probably wrong. And wrong metaphors hide true theories. That dialogue is the video in portable form. Portable form matters more than ornamental paragraph. If you can run that dialogue, the long walk worked. If you only remember the vibe of cosmic holograms, reopen the black hole room and the duality room until the receipts stick. Receipts stick when they are few and sharp. Aria, duality, not fake. Screen unknown. Screen unknown invites a last clarification without formulas. In some constructions, A holographic screen is not a pre-existing wall waiting in the dark. It is a surface defined relative to light flow and focusing, a tool for stating how much entropy can pass. Tool screens may not satisfy the movie projector craving. Movie projectors are optional poetry. Tool screens are how careful papers speak. Knowing both languages stops disappointment when the sky does not show a glowing rectangle. Glowing rectangles would be almost too kind. Nature rarely labels its deepest bookkeeping with tourist signage. Horizons are already almost too kind, visible as silhouettes and shadows in extraordinary observation. That kindness gave us the area lesson. Expecting a second kindness as a labeled cosmic plate may be greedy. Greedy expectations create false negatives. False negatives create cynicism. Cynicism misses revolutions that arrive dressed as bounds and dualities instead of as neon screens. Neon screens aside, the bodily experiment remains available tonight. Look at a wall. Imagine every event in the room somehow having a complete description associated with data on the wall's surface budget. Feel the protest in your gut. That protest is volume ideology. Volume ideology built classical intuition and much of field theory pedagogy. Holography is the protest against the protest. A claim that gravity changes the ideology at the root. Root changes are rare. Treat them with respect. Respect includes admitting what we can simulate versus what we inhabit. We inhabit a cosmos with structure formation, radiation backgrounds, and accelerating expansion. We simulate holography best in curated geometries. The gap is the research frontier, not a secret failure. Frontiers are where incredible ideas live while they grow up. Growing up might mean discovering our universe's dual variable. Growing up might mean learning holography was a ladder to throw away after a better quantum gravity arrived. Either maturity still honors the ladder. You do not insult a ladder for not being the roof. Add SCCFT can be a ladder. Black hole thermodynamics can be a ladder. The roof is a complete theory of quantum gravity in our cosmos. Roof not built. Ladders, real ladders let you ask the opening question without shame. What if everything you can see is a projection of information on a distant cosmic boundary? Shame used to attach to that sentence because it sounded like mysticism. After area laws and dualities, shame attaches more to dismissing it without reading the receipts. Dismissal without receipts is also anti-science. Engagement with the receipts is the job. Job nearly done, but not before one more returned to you as the projected. If the strong reading holds, you would still be a pattern of distinctions the boundary description can encode. Your memories would still be real processes in the bulk language. The strange part would be that a thinner description exists that already contains them. Thinner description is not lesser life. It is tighter ontology. Tighter ontology is what physics chases when it says fundamental. Fundamental used to mean smaller particles in the same three-dimensional arena. Holography suggests fundamental might mean a different arena dimensionality for the deepest degrees of freedom. That suggestion rearranges the meaning of fundamental itself. Arrangements at that depth are why the idea belongs beside Penrose theft and information survival in a black hole series. Arc episode attacks a different pillar of the cartoon. Cartoon grave. Cartoon volume warehouse. Cartoon permanent loss. Cartoons full. Reality gets stranger and more structured. Structured strangeness is the destination, not chaos, not fake. Structure with fewer dimensions at the root and familiar dimensions in the appearance. If that is wrong, the structure of the wrongness will still teach. If that is right, the missing screen is the last biographical detail of a universe that already told on itself through black holes. Told on itself. Horizons leaked the accounting. Dualities leaked the dictionary. Cosmology has not leaked the address. 3. Me open lock. The open lock is the question that changes everything, only because the leaks already changed what everything might be made of. So when you step outside tonight, do not hunt for a floating cinema screen with your naked eyes. Hunt for a better intuition. Surfaces can outrank volumes when gravity keeps the books. Carry that intuition back to every black hole photo and every breathless hologram headline. Intuition plus receipts plus caution is literacy. Literacy is what the opening was for. There is still one classroom image that helps the leap without cheating. Imagine it two encyclopedias of the same city. Encyclopedia A describes streets, buildings, and people in three-dimensional language. Encyclopedia B describes the same city using a compressed code written on a surrounding wall. If a perfect translator exists, neither encyclopedia is the fake one. They are dual. Living in the city, you naturally speak A. Holography suggests that B might be more fundamental, or at least equally complete. Even while your mouth keeps speaking A, that is the relationship adds as CFT, makes precise in its sandbox. And that is the relationship cosmic holography hopes might exist for the real sky. Hope is not evidence. Evidence for the sandbox is mountain high. Evidence that the real sky is the same sandbox is not. Hold hope as hope. Hold mountains as mountains. The openings might be true. Sits exactly on that balance. Bold enough to haunt. Honest enough to survive a seminar. Survive a seminar also means answering the rude question. Is this just words? Answer with the area law again. Answer with matched entropies in dual black hole states. Answer with bulk reconstruction programs that sometimes succeed in limited settings. Words that compute are not just words. Words that only vibe are. This topic has both in the while. Your filter is receipts. Receipts in hand. Return to the projector metaphor. One last careful time. Projector suggests a machine outside the movie. Duality suggests two movies of one fact without requiring a machine with a bulb. If you need the bulb image to feel the idea, use it. If the bulb image starts making you hunt for alien hardware in the cosmic microwave background without a model, drop the bulb and keep the dual books. Tools are allowed to be discarded when they start lying. Lying tools create failed searches and false despair. Failed searches for neon screens do not falsify area laws. Remember that when cynicism visits, cynicism often attacks the poetry and pretends it killed the physics. Separate poetry kill from physics kill. Poetry can be daily. Physics deals only with better physics. Better physics might someday point to a concrete cosmological dual and finally answer where the screen is in a technical sense. Until that day, the best answer you can give a friend is this: we do not know the address. We do know why the question is no longer silly. Black holes taught us surfaces can hold the budget. Dualities taught us bulk worlds can be boundary stories. Our universe has not finished telling us which boundary story is ours, and if you need one image to carry out of all the rooms, make it this: horizon as a budget sheet, boundary as a possible encyclopedia, bulk as the city you walk through, while the encyclopedia may already contain every street. The city stays real. The encyclopedia stays thinner. The missing piece is only which wall, if any, holds our cosmic encyclopedia. And whether wall is even the right noun. That missing piece is the screen question. That question is allowed now because the budget sheet and the dual encyclopedia already exist as ideas with receipts. Say the image once more in the opening's music. Everything you can see, every star, every galaxy, even you, might be how information on a distant boundary shows up from the inside. It still sounds like science fiction. It remains a maybe, but the maybe now sits on area laws and dual dictionaries instead of on vibes alone. That is the difference between a haunting question and a hollow one. Hollow questions entertain for a minute. Haunting questions rearrange what you think a surface can mean. And once a surface can mean a budget for an entire vault of gravity, the leap to a cosmic boundary stops being a random dream and becomes the natural next dare. A dare without a pinned address, which is exactly why it still changes everything when you let it. Revolutions in theory do not instantly move engineering. No one is building a holographic phone that dials the cosmic boundary. The payoff now is understanding. Understanding changes which questions are legal. Legal questions today include whether spacetime is emergent, whether gravity is thermodynamic in origin in some regimes, whether black hole interiors are reconstructible from exterior data, and whether cosmology admits a holographic dual of some kind. Illegal questions include demanding the screen's street number before breakfast. Breakfast still happens in 3 dimensions of experience. That sentence is the opening's protection against despair and against cheap nihilism. Strangeness without nihilism is the tone. Nihilism says nothing matters. Because it is projected, strangeness says, mattering happens in the bulk appearance while the deepest code may be thinner. Matterings survive. Ontology shifts. That is adult of. Adult way also accepts that some holographic proposals will die. Theories die all the time. Rare laws might stay while certain cosmic hologram speeches fade. Or cosmic holography might win in a form nobody has written yet. Either outcome leaves you richer than when depth felt like an unquestionable brick. Bricks that become questions are how science feels from the inside. From the inside of this narration. The path was linear on purpose. Black hole entropy area, principle named, not fake. Duality, laboratory. Cosmic leap with caution. Screen missing. Homework. No side quest into every paradox on the internet. If you felt the rooms connect, the spine worked. If a room felt thin, it was still a room in the same building, not a new city. One building, one incredible idea. Boundary inventories, art by black holes, sharpened by dualities, are made at the cosmos with humility. I met at you with a question that should follow you out of the video and into the next clear night. Here is the screen that is projecting our reality. Counterfeit answers are everywhere online. Simulation talk glued on without physics. Consciousness, mysticism glued on without bounds. The job here is the physics spine, information, area, boundary, bulk, duality. Cosmic maybe, screen unknown. That spine is enough to haunt you. Haunting is the point of a question that changes everything. One last slow pass through the opening, now weighted. Everything you can see might be a projection of information on a distant cosmic boundary. It sounded like science fiction. Leading physicists take versions of it seriously because black holes taught area counting and dualities showed exact holography can exist. The universe being fake was never the claim. Strangeness of description was. Three-dimensional appearance might emerge from a two-dimensional deepest book, and the screen's location remains the unlocked door. If that door bothers you, good. Doors that bother you are how worldviews grow. Walk through your room again. Depth still works. Gravity still holds you. The table still resists your hand. Then ask, quietly, whether the inventory of all that resistance and depth might live on a boundary you cannot see. Quiet questions last longer than shouted myths. And if the universe really is a cosmic hologram, here is the screen that is projecting our reality. You now know why the question is allowed. You know why the answer is not cheap. You know the black hole seed, the principle, the duality laboratory, the cosmological caution, and the line that protects reality from the word fake. Carry those. Let the screen stay missing until honesty finds it. Missing is not failure when the receipts are already in your hands. Area, duality, not fake. Open address. That is enough to leave the dark looking different than when you arrived. Different enough that the next horizon photo will look less like an empty circle and more like a possible hard drive made of geometry, metaphor carefully, physics underneath, and different enough that the screen question stays awake without needing a fake address to survive the night, which is exactly where an honest cosmic hologram story should end. Thank you very much for watching, and keep looking up to